is Actitud Punk Weekend, and I'm IGGY POP, your host. The people at MTV are asking me to say something about how the 70s punk has influenced today's music. All right, here's what I think. Not very much. Really, there's a lot of neo-punk around that draws a line straight back to the 70s punk. Probably the most famous practitioners right now would be Blink-182. And they've thrown in, it seems to me, a lot of comedy with it. They are really good songwriters and extremely good musicians, especially the drummer. On the other hand, they don't make any mystery about the fact that they live in the largest, most luxurious possible houses, collect expensive art, go out with beauty queens, live on the golf course, etc., etc. So it's punk as a musical format. One more format in America, that's it. It has no threatening aspect to it. There's no danger there. It's just guys dressing up. They are very good musicians. My own personal theory is the people who've been influenced today most by punk are the American rappers, the black American rappers. You put on a video by T.I. or Young Jeezy or some of these guys, these are punks. These are bad little boys who just want to fuck with you just to fuck with you because it's fun. You see the dress code everywhere. You also see it in reggaeton, the punk dress code. You see it everywhere with the piercings and the extra jewelry and the odd combination of clothing, bagginess mixed with tight, and a lot of things. So I guess that's what I think. If you haven't gone to sleep or turned off your set yet, you're still watching Attitude Punk. I was right. This is why I shouldn't do this. I'll just stick with oye. Oye, oye, oye. We're back with more of Actitud Punk Weekend. Up next comes a documentary that offers an inside look at the evolution of punk, told by key faces of the movement. This movie's made by a guy named Don Letts. He's a black guy with dreads that hung around with Big Audio Dynamite a lot when Mick Jones had that band after the Clash, and Don was around in the 70s in England taking pictures of everybody's gigs, including mine. I see it on late night cable in the USA, so now it's out for you, and it's not bad, according to me. As much a philosophy as a musical style. That's true. Somewhere between the end of the 70s and into the 80s, a couple key things happened. When all this started out in the late 70s in New York and later in London, just like any large group of people, you had your bad guys and you had your good guys, and people chose those roles for themselves. A bad guy would be someone like Malcolm McLaren, and maybe the Bad Boys would have been the Sex Pistols. Then on the other end, you had the Clash, who were going to be good guys and lead us all to a better world. I don't know. In the middle, you had the good old Ramones, who just sort of played and hung their heads down and said, I want to be sedated. They're probably closer in spirit to my own group. As these questions came up about how should we live, and how does what we listen to and how we dress and alternative forms of entertaining ourselves, because the entertainment we're fed is so crappy and so commercialized, how do these things work? These questions arose in English punk more than in New York punk, which is really because England's a smaller island with a longer background of social protest and less money than America, where money rules everything. So these ideas lay dormant for a while until the English punk reached out and took root on the other side of America in California, which is really a separate country, where the English and New York punk only used the styles of violence. The Southern California punk became violent. There were big fights at the shows, and then finally there was a ritualized kind of dancing called moshing, in which people slam dancing, in which people slam into each other in a pit. And that later went over more to the heavy metal, and people get hurt that way at really dumbass shows by horrible bands that I hate. I'm kind of to blame for some of that, because I was one of the first people to throw myself around a little bit with other bodies in the room, because I just thought that's what the situation demanded. But below this, you had a pyramid of overfed, spoiled, dumbass American jarheads. Hey, how you doing? So the TV people gave me this list of some punk movies, and asked me to tell you what I think about them. Sid and Nancy, I never really cared for this movie, but Gary Oldman does a really great job at any role he takes, and he plays Sid Vicious, and he's good. The Clash, West Way to the World, I've never seen it. I'm not gonna see that either. Repo Man. Repo Man's a pretty damn good movie. I did most of the score and the theme song for that. It's a good film with an actual plot. It's a pretty good movie. It's funny. Instrument. I've never seen this movie, but it says here it's about Fugazi and Ian MacKaye. He's probably the father and the ultimate practitioner of do-it-yourself music production and music business. The music's actually pretty good. I gotta hand it to him. It's not my cup of tea, but there are a lot of musical ideas in Fugazi. Another thing about Fugazi to know is that in America, they were the leaders of something called the straight edge movement, which is an offshoot of the punk movement. Straight edge people don't eat meat, don't have sex, don't drink, don't smoke, don't get high. I wish I knew more about what they do, but I know they're all great buddies, and they all seem to play in the same band at one time or another. And now back to Actitud Punk Weekend. Hi, I'm IGGY POP, and we're back with more Actitud Punk Weekend. In 1990, I was living in New York, and a guy told me about a really good band I better see. It was Nirvana, and they didn't have any of the songs yet that made them famous later. Not even anything that was on Bleach. But they had a vibe, and the guy had something in his voice. Something in the voice, like a little devil troll. He played his guitar all hunched over like this. And I thought, that guy's got something that's talking to me. Later, they had his face all over the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, and everybody was bowing down and this and that. But when they first put out that record, Rolling Stone magazine gave them a review. It wasn't longer than this. Gave them 2 stars, maybe 2.5, and said, well, basically, to paraphrase, this record is the kind of shit that the record companies just throw at the wall every year to see which piece of shit will stick and make them some money. And they didn't hear it. I heard it right away. And a little while later, they did real well. It's a terrible thing that this guy didn't get to live his life and enjoy his time on Earth more. And I think that's because of the people around him. And I don't mean just his wife, all the people around him. And he made too much money for too many people, and he became too valuable too soon. He had to die. And that's how it works. And that's not nice. So that's what I got to say about that. We're watching Actitud Punk Weekend. In the next 30 minutes, we're gonna watch new punk videos. You know, there's a band called Green Day. Everybody's heard of them by now, of course. They're very musically accomplished. Billy Joe, the singer, comes from a musical family. His dad was a drummer in the Bay Area. I don't think his dad had a big career like Billy's had. The other two guys started playing when they were 6 or 8 years old, and they're serious musicians. They started out around a place called the Gelman Youth Center, which was a kind of a free, university-oriented club or meeting place where very serious California punks in Northern California used to gather. And the big spiritual leaders there were the band the Dead Kennedys and a guy named Jello Biafra. Going back to what I said before about violence in California punk, many years later, Jello Biafra was crippled when he was very, very badly beaten up by some California punks who thought he'd sold out and become too much of a leader without justification. Green Day started there and quickly made a lot of enemies as soon as they got picked up by MTV and became successful. And a lot of people called them sellout. They've done well selling out. They are a very good band. It's not my personal absolute favorite, but it's good music sometimes, not as good other times, and every once in a while, it's very good. Here's a song by Green Day called American Idiot. It was written shortly after they worked with me. I had an album called The Idiot back in the 70s, and I think these guys were influenced. Did a little theft. It's okay.
Hard for me to imagine what it was like being, for example, in a band like Free or The Faces and writing a song, having never heard the Sex Pistols or never heard the Ramones. You know, I can't say I was ever really in a punk band, but I can say for sure that I wouldn't have pursued music the way that I did if it wasn't for punk music. I think that Soundgarden was dramatically influenced by punk music.
I know for us, you know, and growing up in California, it's something that you found out who you were. It was an identity thing. It really pushed you into finding your friends, and so much of how you think and how you act and how you feel about so many different things. I mean, it definitely was, it was the first time in my life as a kid where you finally felt like an individual.
Punk music has existed in so many different forms. It's insane. I think that when Bob Marley and Peter Tosh were doing it, that was punk rock. When the Beatles were first coming out, I think that was punk rock. The original blues artists, that was punk rock. I think that hip-hop is where punk rock is now, to me, you know, and it's like, you can put whatever term you kind of want on it. Anywhere you see, like, impoverished or disenfranchised people, there's always going to be some kind of musical outlet.
We're still watching Actitud Punk Weekend. And now the question of the moment is, what would have happened if punk music hadn't come along? You know, half of the whole thing to begin with was comedy, really. It was kind of a joke. A lot of it accidentally shocked a lot of people who were just so tight-assed and full of shit that a lot of things could have shocked them. So really, the world would be just the same, I think, but maybe not as much of a fun place, maybe a little less tolerant. That's what I think. If nothing else, I think it'd be nice to try to be tolerant of other people, whatever they're like. This is the end of Actitud Punk Weekend. Bye-bye. Latin people can be strong fans because y'all aren't as spoiled as a lot of the people where I come from, and also because that's just the way you are. Hats off to the people of Buenos Aires for having us. I want to be in DF. I want to be in Guadalajara. I want to be in Lima. I want to be in fucking Caracas. I want to be... I don't think we're going to get to Bolivia. Can you get us to Bolivia? Come on. I'll be there if you'll get us there. I want to be wherever we can go. And we don't fuck around. I want to be in Santiago too, goddammit. Wait a minute. I'm not done. Quito, Guayaquil, Bogota, Bucaramanga, Cartagena, Cali, Medellin, Panama City, Guatemala City, Belize City, Tegucigalpa, is that how you say that? Tegucigalpa. I was trying to think of the capital of Honduras. Yeah, I want to be all these places. I've got to go to Quito. You've got to check it out. I've got to go to Guayaquil. I got to go to Bogota. I've been to Bogota. I had a girlfriend in Bogota. Okay, enough. Caracas. Chavez, it's okay. Hugo, I'm a cool guy. I won't give you any trouble. I'm not Bush.